points, everything, tokens, all the stuff that we talk about, all the stuff we love. But even if you're at home, you should be buying Ultimate Card products too. It's just the best in the market. It's both these players. I know use them. I know support them. And we're going to start off with a turn 1 Ocelot Pride off of Sacred Foundry.
Yeah, and we like I said, we've seen this matchup a couple of times before. It really does come down to, can Alden sort of keep the battlefield clear for the most part in the early turns? Use a couple of key removal spells, and then whether or not Alden gets to find Flage. I'm pretty sure in the games that we have seen where the Boros player escapes a Flage, whether it's arena or not, most of the time the Boros player has won that game. The instances or the games that we, maybe saw the prowess player take it down was when maybe the Boros player stumbled a little bit, missed a land drop, just didn't draw the Flage, or just didn't have it on turn 3. And those are the games where prowess can definitely can steal some games. But Alden on the play as well, has a little bit more, maybe even just get on the battlefield before Rodney can too.
We're going to see the Lava Dart take care of Ocelot Pride. Guided Soul's the follow-up. And yeah, I mean, like you said, there's a little bit of self-selection here because it's kind of like saying, whatever. When you talk about any kind of top-end plays, right? It's like, decks that resolve Jace the Mind Sculptors, like they're going to win more than when they don't, just because like it's a 4-mana powerful play. Like you're talking about something that you've gotten to turn 4, you're in a spot where you can afford to do it, and it's powerful. And that's certainly part of the equation, but not even necessarily, because we've seen kind of any kind of at parity between these two decks really does just favor the prowess deck, because everything else the energy deck really has going on is just less powerful than what the prowess deck is going on, except for Flage. So there's really, like, even though, obviously I think the energy deck's going to win most of the games that escapes Flage, it's especially important here. And I think we've really seen that manifest and making that happen. Even when things off Surveil, you've called that out as an important interaction for beating like Graveyard Hate and stuff, comes up as plot is going to happen to this Slick Shot show off. We mentioned that speaks to a potential Corey Steel Cutter into the, of course, free, thanks to plot Slick Shot show off. That's quite the threatening setup for Rodney. Can Alden do anything about it as we go to his turn 3?
Yeah, Slickshot synergizing very, very well. And the nice thing about Slickshot here, if you took a look at Alden's hand, there was a copy of Static Prison. So this is sort of a way for Rodney to like say, okay, well, I have a threat sort of, at the ready, not necessarily going to expose it to the sorcery speed removal. And now Alden can't really use the Static Prison. And I believe Alden has a Flage in hand. And now he's thinking about, well, do I even want to put this Flage into the graveyard? Because then I'm tapped out against an opposing Slickshot. That could be kind of scary, especially if there's, a mutagenic growth or a cutter and a growth. There could be some dangerous things here for Alden. So now he has to really decide, the matchup is a lot about Flage, and even has the Pyromancer. So, Alden has a pretty good line where he just goes crack fetch, Pyromancer, put Flage in the graveyard, sets up for a Flage next turn, but, could potentially die next turn.
Yeah, just died to the Slick Shot show off. And yeah, look at him just passing the turn. He's like, all right, I guess I have the discharge. I'm going to insulate myself against dying to the stupid Slick Shot. You also get to fetch your second, your second Elegant Poller for your trouble. So it's not like you get nothing with your other 2 mana, but it's tough. And here's, kind of the expected play at this point. We see the Corey Steel Cutter, and then of course the Slick Shot show off as well. Beatdowns, no land played, so no threat of any kind of mutagenic, violent urge stuff. Still a little short from Delirium anyway, as here is the Galvanic Discharge going to try to take care of the Slick Shot, I think, post-combat here anyway. And so Mutagenic going to protect that. Little insulation. And in step, we're still going to fetch our Elegant Parlor.
Yeah, see, this is kind of the weird thing about Mutagenic versus Galvanic Discharge is, yeah, so Alden had no energy in reserve. So, only was able to deal 3 damage. But once the Mutagenic Growth is cast, Alden can just say, well, I'm just not going to use any energy. So still has 3 in reserve, which is nice because that could potentially give him a trigger off Guided Souls, maybe pump that up. Or if there's a follow-up discharge, make that a little bit better down the road.
Yeah, exactly. Or in this case, if the Static Prison in his hand, basically just means he gets to keep that around forever. So there's just a lot of uses. Guided Souls in play means there's a lot of uses. Really, it's a Boros energy deck. It's going to have ways to use energy. And here, now our Flage has targets. Maybe with Mutagenic out of the way, the coast is clear to go ahead and gun down the Slick Shot show off that way. But looks like maybe not.
Yeah, see now it's awkward because Alden didn't get to use all of his mana last turn, right? But he had a Flage, a Pyromancer, and two 1 mana spells. 2 1 mana removal spells. So if he had played a 3 last turn, say Pyromancer draw land, then he could go 3+1 this turn. But now he didn't use all of his mana last turn and didn't draw land this turn, which means now he's in a spot where, he can't really afford, like, he needs to be able to make sure he can kill the cutter, or excuse me, the slick shot. And now it just kind of feels like he can't use all of his mana. So just goes ahead and kills the slick shot. And then the pride is going to give him a little bit more energy down the road, too.
Something interesting I want to call it too, just this being the Jeskai build means that Prismatic Ending is on the menu for Rodney.
Yep.
And that's pretty good interaction against this Static Prison here. So if we're talking about just being able to get your Slick Shot back for 1 mana and then start to continue to go off with Corey and all the other things that come with it, is here's Dragon's Rage Channeler. Here's a second one. All right. So a bunch more threats, very threat flooded is Rodney. But do we have good attacks? Yes. We have
Cutter tokens a 2/2. Yeah, that's a fine attack. Importantly, do we have Delirium? What's the card under the growth? It's a Lava Dart, right?
Yeah, I believe we have Lava Dart, Mutagenic, Land, Mishra's Bauble. So that's only
So
three
types.
Hard racing a Guide of Souls with no Slick Shot.
What's interesting is that if Rodney could just say, okay, he's missed a couple of land drops, but he could just go for, say, on Alden's turn, Lava Dart, like after Alden declares an attack, Lava Dart the Ocelot Pride, and then if he can surveil the 4th type into the graveyard, would have the ability to put 3/3 channelers on defense.
And yeah, that would like leave a nice double block against the Guide of Souls and really swing the race in your favor. That might be what he wants to do, even though it's pretty rough. I mean, you have 2 looks. Like, you have 2 looks to get Delirium and maybe try to set up a land. It's not a lot, but it's a really, really high upside play if that's where we want to go. Kind of just depends on how ahead Rodney thinks he is. Not attacking with the second monk makes me think he's a little wary of dying. Not just sending everything into its death.
And Alden still does have Alden still has, I believe, the Pyromancer and the Flage. So has those 2 cards in hand, maybe could even, and is aware of the Lava Dart there. So maybe Alden's saying to himself, well, I want to cast the Flage pre-combat, kill a channeler just in case, Rodney gets Delirium in combat. But instead, he's just going to go ahead and discard to the Pyromancer. But that's going to get 3 more energy and 3 life.
Yeah, that basically makes it kind of the same as Flage, right? So if you're talking about Flage gains 3 life, right? Oh, well, Lightning Helix, that's appealing. Well, with Guide of Souls in play, our Seasoned Pyromancer does kind of just make it 3 life as well. And 3 blockers is kind of like a removal spell too. So like, we're really doing a lot of important stuff. There was some consideration maybe too also to like a Ajani plus attack with everything, and then a cat dies and you flip. You got that going on. A lot of options.
Yeah, so what's interesting here is the Guide of Souls, the attack, he actually targeted the Ocelot Pride, and Rodney hit Delirium.
Oh, yeah, so we got the high upside play. We get to do the double block on the Guide of Souls. Is exactly what Rodney's lining up. One of the Dragon's Rage channelers down, but now that Guide of Souls that was really posing a problem off the table. Now the only problem you have is that Flage that got discarded, because he did find land number 4 off of the draws from the Seasoned Pyromancer. So that's a big problem for Rodney, now down to 1 land. Needs to find a kill really like this turn. And from 15, hard to do.
I was going to say that was a really good sequence for Rodney, but then I realized he had to sacrifice one of his lands to do it. So as good as that turn looked for Rodney, which, was able to get the 3 energy, kill the Ocelot Pride, kill the Guide of Souls, he made a lot of progress in the battlefield. Just the mana woes, missed a couple of land drops, had to sacrifice a land to the Lava Dart, and now is just in a spot where, it not only is it hard to beat Flage, it's really hard to beat Flage on 1 land.
And notably, actually, there's no Violent Urges in Rodney's main deck. He's got only the Mutagenic growth. So you just got to make room for the Prismatic Ending somewhere. So we can't really assemble a kill out of nowhere like that.
I think he has a growth in hand too. I thought I saw a green card.
Well, if you're going to do that, you would do that now. Just put it on the flyer that can't be blocked, right? And then you get the damage anyway. You get another token that attacks, and we're cooking.
I think he's maybe trying to show weakness and maybe put, like, maybe say Alden just says declare no blocks, and then maybe, the Mutagenic growth being +5 damage on like the 2 unblocked ground creatures. Maybe that's enough. Because right now it would be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's only 12. if no blocks.
I don't think Alden's just going to say straight no blocks. Really, I think I like that line if we have two mutagenics, I think, because that's a lot to account for. One's already in the yard.
Yeah.
I doubt Alden's going to block in a way that he's like, okay, whatever. If you have two, I'm dead. But you could probably do some really nice blocks to beat one, I imagine. But we'll see. He's putting a lot of thought in this fetch. I mean, that one life clearly appears Alden thinks might matter. I mean, you need your fourth land for Flage, so I feel like you want.
Yeah, you're going to fetch either way.
But maybe the question is for what? We're thinking about, do I want an untapped land? Can I afford an untapped land? What does that look like?
Yeah,
you can't grab a basic mountain. I don't think you have a plains.
Yeah. I wonder what the last card in hand is for Alden if he's thinking. Because presumably, I think he maybe just wants to go like chump, even just go chump, take the rest, and then even if there's double mutagenic, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's only 11 if you chump block the 2 ground creatures. But then I think Alden's also thinking about having lethal himself next turn.
Yeah, he has to be thinking about trying to assemble lethal, but it looks like we're really short, assuming these life totals are correct. I mean, 9's a lot. You have 4 power on the ground plus a Flage, no Arena of Glory to haste. If your card in hand's Arena of Glory, we wouldn't be thinking like this. So we've traded our 2-1 with the 2-2 prowess token. Taking a big hit down to 9.
Oh, so, well, no, I was going to say if the mutagenic growth was there, I was going to say Rodney couldn't cast it because he would go to 7, take 4 from the 3 attackers, go to 3, and then the Flage would kill him. But he would have a blocker because the growth would be a second spell.
Yes, that's correct.
Interesting.
Energy paid for. Yeah, this is interesting sequencing for both players. As we're very quickly fetching for Alden. He must think he has lethal. I'm interested to see what we have here. Do we just have like a bombardment? Is that just lethal out of the box? We have Guide of Souls plus.
Oh, this gets us the 3rd energy. Now we can jump the Pyromancer token. So is that enough?
Okay, jump is 2. That's 6 plus 3 is 9. That's Xaxes. Yep. Yeah, we assembled lethal thanks to the Guide of Souls. Wow. Alden masterfully navigating that board state to assemble lethal there. And I think clearly played around mutagenic as well. Did an excellent job dismantling Rodney's game 1 plan. Like you mentioned, Rodney played really well with the dart too. So it looked like a good back and forth if game 1 is a testament to what's going on in this matchup. Well, let's take a look at the sideboard. We've seen Rodney's sideboard before, and I think we might even have seen Rodney's sideboard in this matchup. But for those of you that are not here for it and for our own posterity's sake, we're going to talk about it again. We have 1 copy of Blood Moon. We have 4 copies of Consign to Memory, 2 copies of Mage Bane Lizard. We got 2 Path to Exile, 2 Spell Pierce, 2 Tormod's Crypt, and 2 Wear Tear. How are we sideboarding in the Boros Energy matchup? Open deck list this time.
Yeah, so presumably Rodney wants to go towards the Path to Exiles. We talked about how much of a problem Flage is, and that is probably Rodney's best answer to it, because you can also path the Flage when, like, if Alden has to cast the Flage for 3 mana on the front half, then you can even path it before it hits the graveyard, so Alden doesn't even have the opportunity to escape it. Past that, I mean, I don't think you want to go towards Tormod's Crypt. It feels like maybe that's a little bit too excessive because you already have the prismatic endings. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, honestly, I think it's just the paths. I don't really see a ton else here for Rodney.
Yeah, some light sideboarding. And then we mentioned over and over again, this is what the white version buys you. It buys you some nice cards in the main deck to where you don't have to do as much accounting for Flage out of the sideboard. You already got it in the main deck, but prismatic ending, comes with its own thing. You got a 3rd color, for instance. Let's take a look at Alden. We'll take a look at his Boros Energy deck. Again, a list we've seen before. We're going to look at it again. We have 1 copy of Celestial Purge, 2 copies of Deafening Silence, 1 Ghost Vacuum, 4 Molten Rain, 2 Orm's Chant, 1 Showdown of the Scalds, 2 Stony Silence, 1 Wear Tear, and 1 Wrath of the Skies. How are we sideboarding against Jeskai Prowess?
Mostly the same here against the Izzet side of thing, at least for Alden's sake. The Celestial Purge, very good against Corey Stokecutter and Slickshot Show Off. Deafening Silence, very good against the prowess mechanic because they want to play a lot of spells. Um, although interesting enough, we've seen a couple of times on camera the Deafening Silence not be enough. That being said, I don't think I'm not going to say that you shouldn't board them in, but you shouldn't be like mulliganing aggressively towards that card. I will say that.
Mhm.
And then I feel like we've talked about this before, but the Orm's Chance, I don't know. It's a weird one where it's like there's some spots where they go for like, maybe they have like three creatures in play. They play like a pre-combat cantrip or something, and you can get them in a spot where it's sort of like a fog kind of thing. But I don't know if that's where you want to be. But I mean, if you just want to buy time for Flage, I could certainly see it.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, Flage is what the matchup's about, and really, it does come down to like a key turn where can we Arena of Glory this Flage and just end the game on the spot? It's really kind of what everything has been about. Even though there's a lot of other Magic to be played that we've seen, really that's what slams the door on the game for the Boros Energy deck. So, starting things off very quickly is Rodney off of Sacred Foundry into Monastery Spear, and the one drop for Alden is going to be the very powerful Oscillate Pride is going to enter play.
Monastery Swiss Spear enters the battlefield tapped and attacking.
It does. It sure does.
It should.
It should.
If
Yeah,
you're,
it
if you're
should. I
playing,
can't
if
believe
you're,
why are we skipping steps.
I know, right? If you're playing Swiss Spear, you just just do the same thing.
Just what do we do?
I respect
Put it in
it.
tapped and attacking. Come on, Oracle text. It's been updated. It's tapped and attacking. Back over to Rodney we go. Thankfully, Monastery Swiss Spear with 2 toughness lines up quite nicely against the first strike Oscillate Pride. Yeah, I'm losing my words as time goes on. It's just eroding. I'm getting old. My brain doesn't work anymore. Everything's bad.
Yeah, Rodney's got quite a few decisions here. I think I saw a Path to Exile, a Lava Dart, and a Core Steel Cutter in the hand. So essentially, the decision is here: do we want to sort of maybe be less mana efficient and kill the Ocelot Pride, or do we want to just be mana efficient, play the Cutter? And actually, there might have been a growth too. So what you could do is you can go Core Steel Cutter and then just main phase Mutagenic Growth the Swift Spear. And then I think if you're doing that, you maybe only attack with the Swift Spear and leave back the 2/2 Cutter token. I could see that.
I don't hate it. I mean, you do kind of want to be attacking, and yeah, it's exactly what we're going to do. It's exactly what you called out. We're going to line that up, and we're in combat, so we're not attacking with the token because we're in combat. We are going to make a token. We're going to attack for a gajillion D damage, and we're going to make a blocker, and so this is going to nice way to swing the race. Almost half dead is Alden already going into his turn 2, and a blocker on defense there to stop this Oscillate Pride. Great sequence here for Rodney on the play.
Yeah, you do have to leave something back for the Ocelot Pride. Also, the nice thing about this from Rodney's perspective is it makes Alden use a removal spell. So, if Alden's plan was say like attack, play a 2-drop, now you're messing with Alden's curve, and that's exactly it. Alden looking at the hand, I think he has a removal spell and then 2/2-drops. So now Alden's like, okay, well, I can't double spell this turn because I don't have 2/1s. But like, how do I want to get the Ocelot Pride trigger? Do I want to waste a removal spell on a Cutter token? It's a lot of interesting decisions here for Alden.
And if you have land 3 impacts the decision too, because there's some temptation to just go, go like Ajani here, right? And just like, all right, now I got blockers. And if you like, I just chump block, I get to flip my Ajani, that's kind of bad for you. Some stuff goes on. And then on my next turn, I can play 2+1 and then get everything. But if you don't have land 3, then you need even more to happen and go your way. That's less likely. Maybe you're more incentivized into the removal spell. But then again, if you don't have land 3, you also get more punished for not spending all your mana. So a tight spot for Alden, great sequence for Rodney. Can he continue to push the advantage? Well, let's find out right now. Is Path to Exile in hand, among others. Lava Dart starting things off, a great way to do it on the
Love this
Pride. See you later.
And this play is awesome because what is Alden going to do if he flips the Ajani? Right? Rodney can just say, okay, flashback Dart, kill your blocker, and then kill the Ajani anyways. Yeah, you can't even flip the Ajani here. And Rodney could even still just go flashback Lava Dart, kill the other token. And yeah, exactly. And Alden's still kind of in a position where he can't really flip the Ajani because it's just going to be dead on board.
But now it's not even a good blocker against anything in play either.
No, it's not.
Piece of cardboard. Like maybe you're supposed to flip it just to fog this damage. As here's a huge attack.
This would be 3, 6.
Oh, never mind. You don't
3,
even
6,
get
7,
block.
8, 11. I think it's Exaxes.
Get out of here.
Yeah, I think it's 11.
We had a Path to Exile too. Get it out of the way. You don't even get to block. Have a billion damage. You're dead. All right, great. That was fun. Everybody had fun. I'll tell you what. I love this deck. I love this prowess deck. Just gets games over with. Just done. None of this Nadu, trigger, none of this, all the other garbage back in the day. Uro and Oko, even, you want to go way back. Just all these like goofy, busted Simic cards that just gain life and make games take forever or whatever. No. When they break something on the like Jeskai, the Is It side of things, people die. They just die. The games end. And the games certainly have ended here, as we're about to get ready for game number 3. Remember, the other side of the bracket is It Prowess? If Alden can get game number 3 here, going to be facing down the Prowess deck once again in the finals. Now, Rodney's a little bit mislabeled here. It is Jeskai Prowess, which is a meaningful difference. We'll be talking about that quite a bit through the main deck and sideboard games, because those white cards matter a lot for the very important Flage Titan of Fire's Fury. But outside of that, I mean, mostly the same kind of deck, most of the same kind of strategy. Most of the same cards are good, as we see a little bit of sideboard swapping here on the play. For this is the draw for Alden.
You know what that might be?
What you got?
I think that might be the Orb's chance.
Ooh.
Where he wants it on the draw because he's too far behind, but on the play he just wants to be more aggressive.
I love it. I love it. I think Orb's chance is kind of underrated. It's just like here's a thing to stop you from like, just give me a time walk. Just time walk you once. Like, I love it. I love it. Well, thank you all for joining us here. If you're still joining us here through the semifinals, I have to imagine you're going to stay for the finals. You wouldn't miss the finals after all this sweet action. Please, if you're looking to support Magic coverage, support the NRG series, and support everything we got going on here, give us a like, give us a follow, check out our events. I mean, we got a whole bunch of events coming up. We got one more event in season 1. We got 4 events in season 2. We're going to be going over later this evening. You can find them on the website as well. But one of the best ways is really just to support us here. You can subscribe, get some sweet emotes, lose all the ads like everybody loves to do, and of course, directly support us. You put money directly in NRG series pocket so we can make these events happen and bring this content for you. These players are mulliganing. I know you love this content where they're mulliganing and they're just getting ready to blow the doors off of each other. This is exactly what you show up for every single time. Well, don't worry. We're going to keep bringing it to you.
Just the mulliganing part of it, right?
Oh, yeah. So sweet. So sweet. That is, we're spoiled. These Zoomers these days, we even used to use that term, these Gen Z Magic players, they just get to click a button on their arena and it makes a little sound and they have a new hand of cards. No.
They don't have to shuffle.
Yeah, we said we had to sit there and shuffle, and it's like 7 shuffles is enough to randomize, but if you don't do, you don't want any kind of under shuffling. A lot of that happens.
Can't do that.
Paper Magic. You can't let that happen. You got to cut their deck. You got to shuffle that thing. Get out of here. Speaking of get out of here. Guide of Soul's gonna get prismatic endinged. It has been ended prismatically off of Sacred Foundry.
The deafening silence here.
Nope.
Yeah, I think Alden picked up a deafening silence for turn, choosing to cast the voice instead.
Voice over it. Yeah, that's strange.
Pressure.
Huh? Get some pressure.
I mean, it's not really the only play that Rodney could really make next turn that would make playing the sounds good is if he has exactly Cutter plus Bobble.
Right.
So I think that's fine. You can wait a turn to get it into play. Also, it's nice that like Rodney will take his turn not knowing the silence is there, so he might do something like plot a slick shot or cast a Cutter, and like maybe the silence would then mess up the following turn.
There's a plot, so that does speak to the following turn. Now the following turn does still work under deafening sounds, right? If we're talking about the typical, all right, play Corey Steel Cutter, play slick shot, make a token bleep, that still just works, but you may not be able to have any kind of damage follow-up that you might want, things like mutagenic growth or whatever, what have you. So have to imagine deafening silence is the equation now.
Or if you have pending, you have to pending before you play the Cutter, and then you can't trigger the Cutter that turn.
Right. Maybe some awkwardness in the land. I saw a lot of white cards in Alden's hand, and I'm noticing not a lot of white producing mana sources. This is like the second or third time throughout this tournament we've seen this Boros deck have mana problems. What are we doing? We have fetch lands. Yeah, how are we having mana problems? How is this happening?
I mean, he drew the one basic mountain, come on.
Yeah, okay. I think is there 2?
But to be fair, there is 1 basic mountain and 3 Arena of Glory. So there's kind of like 4 basic mountains in this deck.
And 2 planes. Like, can we get some duels? We have 23 lands. Get some dual lands in this deck. What are we doing? All right, I know.
Well, I mean, he would kill for a plains right now.
Oh, yeah, I bet. Well, now we get to do all kinds of shenanigans as here comes Lava Dart off of Expressive Iteration with Rodney's basic mountain and a Bobble.
Oh, wait. Is there any chance?
Yeah, that's what I think it's time to start doing lethal math, right? We got 1 spell, 2 spell. Lava Dart represents 2 more times 2. That's 8. Plus 1, that's 9.
We have Delirium. Sorcery,
No, not
land,
yet.
artifact. The dart's an
We
instant,
will
right?
after dark. Yeah,
Oh, it's not in the
yeah, we have to
graveyard.
cast
Okay.
it first, which we're gonna do. All right, that's 4 spells. Here's an attack for 9.
9
That's a
damage.
lot. It's like half your life total. Gone. Back to
It's pretty good.
Alden. Found a Flage. Gonna slam it. Away goes Slick Shot Show Off. And that's the important one. Very far from being able to escape it. Gets rid of the very problematic
Ooh, there's
threat.
the White
Back down to
Taurus.
lands.
Yeah, there's the
Ooh.
White Taurus too. The other interesting thing about Voice of Victory, and like with the consideration of keeping in mutagenic growth against the red removal spells, Voice of Victory makes that plan a lot worse. So if Rodney had a mutagenic growth in hand, just couldn't even cast it against the Flage because of the Voice of Victory.
Right. Yeah, you would just need it to push damage there, probably. Just here's an extra 4 to the dome. We found a expressive iteration, which again is going to be super powered thanks to the deafening sound still just kind of rotting in Alden's hand. That's the tough part of this whole thing. We've resolved multiple expressive iterations. He cast like 4 spells last turn.
Yeah.
It's just like you look at this deafening sound, it's like, ah! Why are you not in play? Why
I mean,
are there no light sources?
given the way this game played out, I mean, obviously Alden, didn't know he wasn't going to draw a white source or what Rodney's hand was, but given the way this game played out, it, certainly maybe would have been a little bit better if he just played the silence over the voice. But
Yeah, the
I
damage
can
is not what
understand
matters here too much.
I can understand the desire to want to play, use all your mana that turn and then just kind of got punished because he drew the mountain and didn't have another white source the next turn.
I mean, most of the time we see these Boros decks losing. That's exactly how they lost, right? Is like they didn't get to use all their mana on their turn and
Yeah.
their opponent did. Like the Boros deck looks so much worse when they have to do awkward things off curve. And that's really the equation here is look, we see Rodney spending all his mana again, lightning bolting away that voice, back over to Alden, clear boards. But we mentioned before, clear boards favors energy if they have Flage. And we know Rodney's already been through 1 prismatic ending. Does he have an answer already dialed up? Well, it's probably on the menu. And yes, that was a land which represented the Flage haste, and that's lethal.
Yeah, because he can fetch for Surveil land. He goes fetch Surveil, 2 cards in the yard, Flage lethal, that's 12. Yep.
Yeah, we have Arena, so that's, yeah, you just escape Flage, hit you. That's 12 exactly, and Rodney is dead.
Wow.
How about that? I mean, how about that? We mentioned Flage is the difference maker. If you escape Flage, you win. That's kind of just the equation. Alden was able to do it. Punched his ticket to the finals. Who is he going to meet? Well, let's find out. We're going to dive right into our backup match here for game number 3 between Grayson Nimitz and Connor Clark. This is it Prowess Mirror? Is there anything to analyze here? Is this just who's on the play? Oh, I see white. We have Jeskai lands. Okay.
Yeah, this is small caveat here. This is Jeskai Prowess on the left-hand side of your screen for Connor. Is it on the right-hand side of your screen for Grayson? One thing that I don't know if we've touched on yet, but the inclusion of prismatic ending in the mirror match, having a clean answer to Cutter seems pretty good because Grayson doesn't really have a ton of Grayson doesn't have a ton of answers on his side of things. So if you can be the one, have Cutter, kill their Cutter, I feel like that is a reasonable advantage, I would think.
I don't think so as well. And you mentioned Soulscar Mage because right, Connor's version of Prowess is actually the one that has a main deck Flage. It has Soulscar Mages instead of Slickshot Show-Offs. A lot of stuff that's a little bit more efficient. No mutagenics, that kind of thing going on. So he's got some important differences, I would say, over other Prowess decks as far as just picking apart what matters in the mirror. And I think you mentioned Soulscar Mage maybe a little bit better in the mirror. Talk to me about how that's going to manifest, how that might manifest.
So Soulscar Mage gets you into these weird spots where in combat, the text on it's a very weird card, and basically it turns all of your burn spells into stuff that gives -1/-1 counters to creatures. So for example, if you're in a position where like you both have a prowess creature, you're blocking their prowess creature, they play a pump spell, you play a pump spell, and then you go to say bolt their creature, that puts 3 -1/-1 counters on their creature. So
reduces the
in terms of
power,
sizing in combat, yeah. And
okay.
notably, it also gets around mutagenic growth. So if you bolt their creature, they with a Soulscar in play, if they mutagenic growth to give it +2/+2, the mutagenic resolves, it'll have 3 counters on it, and then when the turn ends, it'll die to state-based effects because it will no longer have the bonus from growth.
Okay, so yeah, that could be really important. And we see ending coming up right now as it's going to pick off the Dragon's Rage Channeler. 2 mana follow-up. It's Slick Shot Show Off for Grayson. And a follow-up of Double Bobble. That's 5 damage. And potentially 2 cards. Could swing the race quite dramatically right away in Grayson's favor. As here's a huge attack for 5 right out the box. All right.
You know, if only we had Mishra's Bobble in standard. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, is that what we're missing? Okay. Sorry,
Yes.
I was confused. I'm in between dying on turn 4 to Corey Steelcutter anyway. I was confused if we needed more or less cheap spells to solve the problem. Why don't we get Mental Misstep too? Why don't we do some of that, huh? Double Bobble. 2 triggers coming. 2 cards coming. And we'll see what Connor can assemble. Looks like a Corey Steelcutter picked up. I see a Heat. Maybe mutagenic growth, and the red card I can't quite get the look of. What is that?
Whole Heat?
No, I see the
Are you talking
Heat.
about the one below it? That's
Far
I think
left.
that's a Violet Urge.
A
think that's a
violent
Violent Urge.
urge. Okay, all right. Yeah, a card I'm new to seeing in people's hands. Okay. Well, he's got the little combo then, huh? He's got mutagenic, he's got violent urge.
Yeah,
Checking.
artifact, sorcery, creature, instant. That's 4 types.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, I see Prudent, Bolt. Yeah, that's 4 types. So we have it. Connor could just be dead here if he doesn't have an answer to the Slick Shot. Given a lot of thought to this turn, this definitely seems like the key turn for this match because it is game 3. This will determine the winner of the match. What he does here, you know, very much impacts the rest of this game. And I don't know, obviously, how much he knows of Grayson's hand. Probably none. But just having that respect for Slick Shot Show Off is going to pay off here more than ever. But you mentioned mutagenic growth, really good at defending without something like a Soul Scar Rage in play. So if he can't find one of those first, things get harder. See a Lava Dart.
Yeah, and from this position, you can't really like you can't produce your own threats here. You need to make sure that you get Grayson's off the side of the battlefield. So Connor can't even really like progress his board state. You know, that priority number 1 is just get that Slick Shot off. And the interesting thing is that even if Connor does find a lightning bolt, we know that Grayson has that mutagenic growth, and that's not even going to work. Although if the mutagenic growth gets fired off, then Grayson likely would not have lethal next turn unless he can find a 1 mana spell to cast.
Or just like another mutagenic or whatever, what have you, anything
Yeah,
along those lines.
Bobble might.
And notably left white open. So, you know, maybe respecting the ability to peel another prismatic ending here, have another land, and then be able to use that. And that gets around mutagenic. That works the way you want it to. Because he's got a mountain in hand there. Choose
thinking
to
about
keep
this.
the dart. Okay.
Technically kills the Slick Shot. That's a tough way to do it.
It's not a great way to do it.
Technically answer the Slick Shot.
And I mean, you have to respond to the mutagenic being aggressively cast. So that gets hard. We can't do it now.
Yeah, now
but we're doing it now.
Okay, I was gonna say is a situation of do you do it now or do you wait to see if Grayson goes for it? Because now the upside of doing it now is that the mutagenic is gone and you're taking less damage on Grayson's turn. The downside is if Grayson just went for it and maybe didn't have a second mutagenic, then you could have blown him out. And I believe that was a preordain. I think that might be lethal.
Yeah, did he just assemble
If Grayson
lethal?
goes for it.
I mean, I think at the point at which Connor is willing to main phase a lava dart to pick off a Slick Shot Show Off,
Yeah,
that's the last of the pieces. He's got no more removal. So if I can assemble lethal here and I'm Grayson, I'm gonna do it.
That is definitely a show of weakness here from Connor's side of things. Because you would imagine if he had a bolt in hand, he would just cast on his main phase. If he's willing to fire off the dart now.
But if he had bolt, this would be gas.
The sickest bait of all time.
Yeah,
just like
Connor, so respect.
Cast the worst removal spell to like bait your opponent into casting the growth and like, you know, shrug your shoulders like oh man, that sucks.
What am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be so sick. The stuff of legacy for sure. Now, what does he have? Here comes an attack. Only 3 right now. Hello. Beep, beep. That turns it up to 6. Double strike. That's lethal. And it's a fist bump. Grayson has made his way to the finals once again. This man can't be stopped. He just keeps winning over and over again. I'm telling you,
I
he's
think
Houdini. He just can't
is
stop.
this I think this might be his third modern finals in a row. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but he's on quite of a tear in these modern events.
Oh yeah, yeah, because he's already qualified, so he's just flexing on people. He's already qualified for our championship, and now here he is again in the finals, going to have to face down Boros Energy in order to claim another modern trophy. But yeah, I mean, really he's shown his range. He's played Belcher before, obviously played at champs. He played something completely different. He played the Brute Scale deck, if I remember correctly, and now here he is with the Prowess deck, really just demonstrating his range and also able to just pick up the best deck each time and have a lot of success with it. So some impressive stuff from Grayson, and he's got quite the opponent in Alden Cates, who's done a great job beating down the Prowess deck so far. He needs to do it one more time if he wants to punch his ticket to the championship. I'll tell you what, our finals is going to get set very quickly. We're going to take an extremely quick break, and we'll be back with the finals of our 10K Modern Showdown here in Chicagoland very shortly. Do not go anywhere.